5G and broadband adoption in focus in Davos. Our next guest provides 85 million connections across Europe. Joining us right now is Mike Fries, CEO of Liberty Global. Good morning to you.
Nice to see you, Andrew.
An annual meeting with you.
Yes, we do.
We get to find out what's happening in Europe. By the way, before we even get into the sort of broadband media ecosphere, in the U.S., it feels like a lot of the U.S. CEOs are very optimistic about things.
Right.
A lot of the folks that I've been talking to, the European CEOs, are very seemingly pessimistic about the state of affairs. And I'm curious, since this is your land, what you think of that.
I'll bet, I mean, they may come across as pessimistic. They're probably just uncertain.
Okay.
That's a difference there. What does it mean? What does the U.S. policy going forward mean for them? And remember, Europe is at a very important inflection point. The Draghi report that came out was a wake-up call for Europe. If you want to increase productivity, increase investment, increase innovation, we'd better get this regulatory thing right.
Right.
And historically, Europe has not gotten that right, which is a long conversation we can get into. And the telecom sector is a poster child for where they got it wrong. Focused on prices, not focused on investment in infrastructure. And I'm hopeful that the European Commission has received that message and will actually start making changes.
Where are you in the shift of what Liberty Global ultimately is? I mean, I'm thinking of all the things that have happened just basically in the last year. Buybacks, spinning off the Swiss telecom business. You bought Warner Brothers Discovery's controlling interest in Formula E, that's the motorsports for what does this ultimately look like to you?
Yeah, well, look at
And John Malone's also has his own designs on the rest of his empire.
Look, we are following the same playbook that John has been using for 20 years, which is if you can, in the case of Sunrise here in Switzerland, if a business is better off on its own and will trade better than it does inside the belly of the whale, give it freedom. And that's what we've done here. Punchline is we issued our shareholders a $9.50 tax-free dividend on a stock that was trading at $18 by spinning off 20% of our EBITDA. Just do the math. We'll do those things all day long because this is about value creation, not empire building. So we have a telecom business that remains, a pretty big one with, $8 billion of EBITDA. So we have a lot of telecom assets yet to sort of rationalize, crystallize value for. We have a very exciting growth portfolio, $3 billion of assets in tech, media content, sports, infrastructure. And so we're busy. And I think the value creation opportunity, shrinking the value gap, that's what we do at Liberty. And that's what we're doing here.
Curious about what do you think is happening with both unbundling in Europe versus what's happening in the U.S.
Right.
And also, by the way, broadband. Wireless versus physical.
Yeah.
Because that seems to be a major shift that is upon us here.
Yeah, I mean, Europe is moving much more slowly in this unbundling, this melting iceberg of linear television, moving much more slowly. Broadcasters have
why is that?
Because broadcasters here have a much stronger position and presence. It's a fragmented market, so nobody dominates media in Europe. What country are you in? Then I'll tell you. So it's a very difficult thing to dominate media and content. Netflix does a great job, of course, and Amazon, they're all over, and they're penetrating widely. But I think people still watch local news, local sports. So I think that's one of the reasons. And so it will happen. Unbundling is inevitable. I think it'll happen here. We're doing those kinds of deals, but just happening on a slower basis. Broadband, we're in both fixed and wireless. The fixed business is healthy. I think we're offering a gigabit up to 2 gigabits almost everywhere. So broadband is good. Mobile, tougher business, lower ARPUs. And Europe faces a 200 billion euro investment gap to get to the magical 2030 goals of fiber and 5G. So we're in a bit of an investment cycle, which is why having greater regulatory certainty is a good thing.
Long term, how big a threat does satellite represent to you? Thinking of what Starlink's doing, Amazon's going to have Kuiper.
I think what they're doing is brilliant. We don't believe, there's two applications. One is, will it replace your home broadband? Unlikely, because we're offering 1 gig, it's going to be 10 gig, and just the economics, the physics of that make that difficult. The second question is, will it be broadcasting to your device harder? The cost of that device, he needed spectrum in every market to land that signal. Now, I don't underestimate either of those companies. And when my team says, hey, don't worry about it, boss, I say, I'm worried about it because they have unlimited capital, it seems, and unlimited ambition. So, but I think for the next 5 to 10 years, listen, 5% of the world's population multiplied by the world's population is a big business. If he were to get to 5%, he may not be satisfied with that, but he has succeeded. So I think that's how we see it.
Becky's got a question for you from Times Square.
Hey, Mike, how are you?
Hi, Becky. Good.
All right, I want to talk to you about Formula E. I mean, it's something that you now own, I think, 65% of. You bought the 25% stake from Warner Brothers Discovery earlier last year.
Right.
It looks like it's on a phenomenal growth trajectory, 400 million fans. I know you've got 16 cities that it races in on like 4 continents, but it's also listed as like the #1 ESG sport. With this turn we've been talking about at Davos about how ESG and DEI is losing popularity in the United States. How do you market with that? What do you do? And what do you do just as majority owner at this point that you want to change and boost things?
Thank you for that question. Listen, we are very excited about Formula E. It has been net zero since day zero, and it is, a poster child for sustainability for sure. But it's also a really exciting sport. First of all, there are very few global championships, and this is, I think, second biggest ever to be developed in the last, this century. So it's exciting to be in it, to own it, to drive it. What's happening? The cars are getting faster. Our car on the road right now beats an F1 car 0 to 60 by 30%. So that car is just going to get faster, more powerful. It's inevitable. Fans are excited about this. We have much more of a younger fan base, more female fans. And I think, look, it's a global sport. And it'd be 400 million. We need 400 million to be 800 million. And Formula One is a fantastic business. Listen, it's done incredibly well. And we think we're in a pretty good wake there. And we're excited about the future. And the teams are exciting. Porsche is exciting. McLaren, Nissan, Jaguar. These folks are in for a reason. The electric vehicle business is only going one direction. You might disagree on when or how many, but we have an exclusive for quite a long time. And in that time frame, we all own electric cars. And that's really where everybody's attention is going to be, including the manufacturers, which matters a lot.
That's fascinating.
Yeah.
I'm curious what you think is going to happen. I mean, I know it's outside of your world, sort of, but in the U.S., given the new regulatory environment, do you see massive consolidation happening in media? And then how does that relate back to your business?
A lot more than we had in the past, right? So I do believe that the floodgates are going to open, at least in terms of deal flow. What will get done, what won't get done, tougher question. But I do think people see a window here opening, and I think they will jump through it. And I believe it'll involve the entire sector in deals that you could probably never consider or imagine in the past. In terms of our business, we're seeing a similar opening in Europe. The UK just changed the chairman of the CMA to, apparently it'll be somebody who's more open-minded about consolidation and the importance of regulatory relief, which is really the message. And I think the European Commission will follow along. So I think there's a global trend towards regulatory relief. I think that's a good thing.
Can anybody catch up to Netflix? I mean, did they just now? It's just
I don't know. I mean, Disney will try.
Can they? Can they get close?
I think it'll be tough.
The unit economics of where Netflix is now is just it's almost like they're in a different business.
I think it'll be tough. Although Disney has a leg up on sports, Netflix is obviously embracing sports. Amazon. So I think the sports question will be a really important one over the next 5 to 10 years. Who kind of owns that? Which is another good reason to own a sport like Formula E. So.
Okay, Mike, thank you. It's great
nice
to see you. Really appreciate it. Thank you.
Yep.